Come on, Chris, I'll show you the cafeteria.
Great. Wait, the cafeteria is one of those places where moisture, just like a bathroom, can be a problem.
That's correct.
Right? I know this is a cafeteria because I can already take in the aroma, and that is a positive pressure, right?
That is correct, Chris. In the ventilation world, you can separate rooms by positive and negative pressure. Rooms that have positive pressure have a tendency of pushing the air out into a room that has negative pressure. That's why we can smell the odors in the hallway.
And why is that bad?
The reason that is bad is depending on what the contaminants are in one room, now you're pushing it out to another room where it never was intended to have contaminants.
All right. So by contaminants, if he means turkey tetrazzini, I think we may be on to something. So let me take a look.
Let's go in and find out what it is.
Now clearly, here we are in the cafeteria. A couple things we need to make sure are present here to help out our indoor air quality. We're always checking the vents. We're feeling if the air is coming in or going out. We also want to make sure that nothing is cluttering this area to prevent the air from coming in and going out. So these check out fine. Another thing we'll need to concern ourselves with is cleanliness and clutter. Table clean. No crumbs, no foodstuffs. This one we'll have to check again. We don't want to attract any critters in the cafeteria. And as we can see how important it is to maintain a cleanly environment. Now speaking about those critters, they like to hide in small places, dark places, moist places. So we're going to check some of those areas in the cafeteria. One of the hot spots for activity, vermin activity, is behind the radiator where it's dark and they can hide and scurry. We want to make sure that no foodstuffs get behind the radiator because those kids are crafty now, aren't they? And this appears to be clean. We also want to check out the corners as well. No droppings, no dander, no fur. All right, cafeteria checks out clean. Let's move on to the next spot. Here we are in the boiler room, and there's a whole lot of stuff we need to check off our list related to indoor air quality that has to do with the boiler room. Now what we're looking at here is the way that this building gets its ventilation and fresh air. Let's talk about this thing.
This is a supply air fan that supplies outside air to the classrooms.
And this is what a whole lot of older buildings have.
Yes, since we don't have an HVAC system, all we have is fresh air coming and supplying ventilating air to the classroom.
All right. Now with a machine like this, there are a couple of things we need to concern ourselves with, specifically the filters.
Yes, and you change the filters and you try to keep the filters clean. This unit has bag filters. I could take you over and show you.
Sure.
And we can look, we can open the door here and we can see the bags. These are the bag filters. Keeps the dirt from the outside from entering in the building.
Now we've seen this piece of equipment for the older schools, but newer schools have HVAC systems. And as you can see here, this one's in tip-top shape. We always need to concern ourselves with unusual odors that may be occurring and make sure that all of the vents are sealed as well as all of the connectors. Now one thing to think about with these HVAC systems is those combustible appliances. Again, we need to smell to make sure that there are no unusual odors. We also want to make sure that everything is in tip-top shape in order to ensure indoor air quality. So continuing our walkthrough, we're still using our senses. This looks like something. Nick, it looks like asbestos.
Yeah, I would venture to say that it is.
All right. Now, asbestos has been well documented. It's dangerous if the fibers get in your lungs, cancer. This doesn't look so bad.
Well, it's been hit by, but some of it is a little friable. So I wrote it up for the asbestos task force to come out and remove it. So, but it is friable, and when it gets friable, it releases the fibers in the air, and that's when it's dangerous. If it's not friable, it's not dangerous.
Got it. So make sure that if you have anything that has asbestos in it, you check in with the asbestos folks and make sure that it's properly contained.
Yeah. A good rule of thumb is, if you don't know it is, assume it is.
Got it. Some boiler rooms have storage areas just like this one to hold their chemicals and also their paints. Take a whiff. Use your senses. Indoor air quality is critical in here. If you can't smell it, that's a good thing. Make sure all of the chemicals are properly sealed and also labeled. Well, that concludes our Tools for Schools IAQ walkthrough. Nick, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you, Chris, for a very informative day.
Oh, my pleasure. Take care. We hope that you found some tools useful here as you think about your school or your environment. We came here because there's some unique challenges that face these urban schools. Number one, budget is always an issue. It's a whole lot more important that you use your 5 senses to see if we can't prevent problems before they develop, because that is certainly a more costly problem to deal with at that point. Urban areas are also unique in their challenges because we have such a densely populated area. There are a lot of people who react differently to a lot of different types of pollutants. Don't forget, you don't need fancy equipment. Use your 5 senses to see if we can identify issues of IAQ. Now, special consideration for older buildings and buildings in urban areas. If your school was built before 1980, you're going to need to find out from your administrator if there is lead in the paints. That presents different problems. They need to be addressed. Be sure to manage this problem. You need to think about the sources where these pollutants are coming from. That's number one. Number two is educate the folks in the building. Let them know about the initiatives that you're taking. Let them know how to identify these irritants and pollutants also. We want to make sure that you know prevention is the lowest cost solution. Stop the problems before they start. Your kids are worth it, right? I'm Christopher Ridenauer. Have a great day. Thanks for coming.